I wanted you to see, obviously, it's, you know, Ashley Rodriguez. And I wanted to say she's a former City Music student, but there's no such thing as former City Music. Once City Music, always City Music. That goes for you too. So I just wanted you to, I thought we'd run her audition clip. I don't know how many of you saw this for American Idol. And then we're going to talk to her a little bit. So can you run that for us?
Here's to hoping Berklee student Ashley Rodriguez takes a more subtle approach.
I really want this. This has been my dream since I was little. I think that every time I get up to sing, it comes from a special place. So I hope that they see that as well and send me to Hollywood.
Okay, Ashley, what are you going to sing?
If I Ain't Got You, Alicia Keys.
Great.
Some people want it all. I don't want nothing at all. If it ain't you, baby. If I ain't got you, baby. Some people want diamond rings. Some just want everything. Everything means nothing. If I ain't got you, yeah.
Thank you, Ashley.
I love you. I think you're great. I love your look. That's a very difficult song to sing.
Very
And I think you still brought your own personality to it, and really you have the kind of look and voice that could be very commercial, and I think you'd do very well in this competition. I'd like to see you go to Hollywood.
Victoria?
Yeah, I think you're great. I mean, you look fantastic. You're one of my favourites that I've seen.
You're very
I'm
sultry.
Really lucky.
There's a sultriness to
Yeah,
your
sultry.
voice.
That's good.
You know what? I think so too. You're my favorite today. 100%.
Simon, what did you think?
Definitely.
I thought that was a very, very good audition.
Yeah.
Some people have got it, and I think you may have it.
Yeah.
Let's take a vote. Simon.
100% yes, Ashley.
Thank you.
2,000,000,005 bazillion trillion % yes.
Definitely yes, and I love the way you're dressed. You are naturally beautiful and very talented. Yes, thanks.
I think you got a good shot at this year. You're going to Hollywood.
Hollywood, girl, what? Ashley's in the house.
Very well done. Like
Ashley,
you guys
work
said.
it out. Party, man, party.
Very well done.
Says it all, right? Let me invite my daughter. She's everybody's daughter up here. Where's Ashley? Oh, see, like a pro, she enters from the right. Welcome, Ash.
Hi. Hi. How's everybody doing? Good.
So we're gonna, you know, because of the time, we're gonna try to rush this interview a little bit because I want to make sure that you have some time to ask Ashley some questions. I want you to get to know a little bit about her, but also I know you want to hear about the Idol experience somewhat, what it's like, the industry and all of that, because it is very intense. And I'm trying to see if I should start with the big question or just do like, you know, the big, well, actually the big question wasn't on the paper though. That's the problem.
Okay.
So I'm gonna ask the big question just to kick it off. So the question is, during Idol, leading up to the finals, when Ashley, you know, was headed for the finals and everything, there was a lot of press and a lot of publicity, and Simon is a hard nut to crack. But the word was that Simon, you know, kind of had like he was banking like Ashley's the one, and that was all over the place. So what was it like for you and Simon when it didn't turn out exactly the way he expected? What was that like? Because I know that, I remember when he spoke to you. What was that like?
You're the first person to ask me that question.
That's because I should be on 2020 or something.
I'll figure it would come from here. That's a great question, actually. It was interesting. It's a humbling experience, I think, to have folks back home and the paper back home and even some folks across the globe to kind of make predictions that I would go far in the competition. It was humbling. I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. And there's a God-given time and place for everything. It's not easy to be critiqued in front of your friends. It's even harder to be critiqued in front of the country. The extent of my relationship with Simon Cowell exists on to what you see on television. You don't spend much time with the folks who are doing the critiquing. They don't know your personality. They don't know who you are off a stage. They don't know who you are outside of who you are for the minute and 30 seconds that you're holding a microphone. So it took me many months after the show to learn and to realize that it wasn't personal. And that the show, although they market themselves as a talent competition, it is also reality TV. And it makes for great television to eliminate a front runner in the first episode of a show that has declining ratings. Many months after the show, I took it upon myself to change my mindset and to push my ego, my very, very bruised ego, to the side and take full advantage of my American Idol experience and run with that ball as long as I could. And I'm still doing that to this day, thank God. I was just at the season 10 finale promoting a single that I released about 2 months ago, and things have been uphill since then. So the extent of my relationship with Simon Cowell is what you see on TV. But as far as me personally, it was a challenge to come off a show like that and rebuild my image, rebuild myself. So that's been, I think, the greatest conquer after that experience.
Well, we think your image is great. What do they know? You know what I mean? But I think that's some real perspective that we should take, because that's something that I hadn't considered, that eliminating a front runner makes for good television. And you know, we should keep that in mind, so when you go to auditions and things, it's not all necessarily about you all the time, and you want to keep that in mind. That's excellent. So now we'll get to the stuff that's on the paper. You know, I caught you, but
the questions I was prepared for.
Yeah, see, but you handled that like a pro. So just working backwards in time, at what point had you been in your career prior to American Idol? Where were you at?
I wasn't too far along, according to, I guess, maybe industry standards. The thing that's this weird shift that's happening in the industry right now is a large group of young talent who are, by 15 and 16, pruned and ready for national television and interviews and world tours. And at 15 and 16, I was just starting this program. Berklee found me. And so I spent between the ages of about 16 to about 21 being prepared for that moment and being groomed for that moment. You know, upon auditioning for American Idol, I was finishing my last semester of college. I told myself if someone was going to pay for my school, I was going to finish. So keep that in mind, all of you who are going out for the scholarship. It's a big deal, and the entertainment industry can add a lot of pressure for you to want to hurry up. You have your whole life to build a career. So if you're going out for something that'll provide you with an education, start and finish with excellence, because it's given to you for a reason, and you're blessed with an opportunity for a reason. So I chose to finish college before I auditioned for anything serious. I had opportunities to go on the road, and I did, and I traveled abroad and did multiple things while remaining in school. But Boston, American Idol just so happened to be coming to Boston upon my last semester of college. If that's not cool timing, I don't know what is. So up until that point, really, I had just been in school, studying and perfecting my craft, learning as much as possible, because of the program kind of being pushed in many uncomfortable situations that I thought maybe I wasn't ready for, that other people believed I was ready for. And so it was those moments that prepared me for moments like that, where I could either freeze and fall apart, or I could step up to the plate. So that's kind of where I was right when the Idol thing was happening.
That's great. And then take us back just a little bit further. So, like high school, middle school,
oh, yeah.
elementary, like what was happening?
The short version of a long story is I grew up dancing first, and around 13, 14, I started to realize how much I enjoyed singing and how much that took precedent over anything else. In high school, I was also doing theater, I was doing musical theater, I was doing Shakespeare, I was doing a little bit of everything. And around 15, 16, I was probably the most hungry and thirsty for some kind of like musical experience, an opportunity that my parents couldn't necessarily provide for me at the time. The City Music program showed up to my high school, and a teacher who knew my love for music pulled me out of class that day and was like, "You need to be in the auditorium now. Whatever it is that you're doing can wait." And pulled me into the auditorium, and Lynette was speaking in my auditorium. And after I heard her give the description of the program, which back then was much different than it is now, still wonderful, but very different, I knew that that's something that I wanted to be a part of. And so I kind of jumped on that opportunity immediately. And I've been a Berklee City Music representative ever since. So it's been a really cool journey.
And we're grateful. Ashley never fails to mention City Music. I always, you get her talking about anything, she brings it into the conversation. We appreciate that. Now, I had read, see, I thought I knew everything about you, but I guess not. I read that you no, this is an easy one. I read that you had taught yourself guitar. The whole time you were in City Music, I never saw you play guitar.
Because I'm not very good.
Oh, okay.
Who wants to bust out a guitar in a room full of other like amazing instrumentalists? I can get by. I'm learning now more, but I mainly just use it to write. If you're a vocalist in the room, take the time and the opportunity to learn another instrument. Don't be stubborn. I was stubborn and just didn't feel like it. That's such a horrible excuse. So pick up an instrument. Whether it's piano, guitar, I don't know, tuba, I don't care, whatever it is. Just take the time to do it. It's important.
And then here's something that's kind of connected to that. What would you say, because I've heard you sing a lot of different styles and things, what would you say that every singer needs to do in order to be versatile?
I think that trial and error is everything. I think that there's anything, one of the biggest things that I took away from my time in the City Music program, as well as at Berklee during my college years, was it's the only way you're going to grow is if you step out of your comfort zone, is if you allow yourself to be stretched, if you allow yourself to be uncomfortable. There were plenty of shows that I felt like, whoa, that's not really what I do. And that's not, this song's not, I don't really like this song. I can't stand listening to people say that, because at the end of the day, there's always something to be learned. And there's always an opportunity to grow in every experience. So something that I was taught very early on by my wonderful mother was, whatever you do, do with excellence. And so even if it's something that you don't necessarily enjoy, do it to your best ability, because there were times where I was given songs to learn last minute in genres that I had never experienced before, and then at the end of the show learned, oh, I kind of like this. And you know what? Maybe I'm kind of good at this too. It's cool and it works for me, and that's how I kind of started to experiment with my own sound and the things that I love most about the things that I love to do. So don't be scared to do the trial and error process. It's okay to mess up every once in a while.
So let me read a quote from you in one of the many zillions of articles. I pulled this one. It says, here's what you said. You said, with everything I've experienced, I've gotten to a point where I realize that it has all brought me to this place in my life, and I've never been so sure of myself until now. So, here's the question. So where are you at now, and what things are you really sure of? Mention your new single, too. Oh, you did.
This is my 60-minute interview with Curtis. Wow. That quote holds true to every landmark, I think, in my life. And right now, it just so happens that those landmarks are happening and occurring much faster and more frequently from things like the single that I released, which I love and I'm super proud of. But I went through a little bit of a topsy-turvy experience in releasing that and writing and producing it. And
you want to tell us what it is?
Yes, absolutely. This holds true to everybody. When you know what it is that you want to do, regardless of industry standards and regardless of what you think everybody else is going to think about it, hold true to that. If there's anything that I've learned in the last couple years is that it's okay to talk about your faults as long as you are also talking about your growth. With releasing the single, it was a song that I was proud of. The writing I was proud of, the production I was proud of, but it wasn't necessarily the direction that I want to go in as an artist. And I was pushed and pulled in a lot of different directions, and ultimately decided to go with something that maybe now, if I look at it now, I wouldn't have necessarily gone in that direction. I'm proud of the song. A lot of great things have come of it. A lot of incredible opportunities have come of it. But now my focus is cleaning up the mess a little bit to reshift. And redirect. And if you stick with your initial gut in the beginning, you'll spend less time cleaning up the mess afterwards. It saves you time, it saves you energy, it saves your integrity, it saves your dignity. And so that's a lesson that I've learned from myself personally. So now the place where I'm at is writing and recording for my EP, which is a little bit more of a different direction, the direction that I've always wanted to go into, which, you know, includes, of course, a soulful sound, but a lot of rock influence in it. Another question I saw in there, which I'm going to segue into, is my ideal band. And whenever I talk about my sound, I talk about my band because I take pride in the musicians that I work with, and all of my vocalists in the room. Treat your musicians well. Treat your band well. Those are the people that make you look good. They make you sound good. And without them, you are just another singer singing to a track. So take pride in your musicians. But for all my musicians in the room, really quickly, I just tell you, my ideal band, drummers, is a drummer. You can be the dopest on the planet and sit in the practice room for hours, all kinds of runs and all kinds of crazy stuff. But if you don't have pocket, I don't want to work with you. And so the same goes for bass players. I love a funky bass player. I had the pleasure and the opportunity and the blessed opportunity to come up under the wing of Winston. And so I take pride in my bass player. And And so I think being in an atmosphere like Berklee, it's easy to learn how to overplay, and then it's harder for you to revert back to keeping it simple and maintaining excellence in your simplicity. And so that's something that I encourage all of you to keep at the forefront of your mind. No matter how much you're learning and growing and how much you want to continuously add to what you do, remember that simplicity is everything. And so my ideal band is pocket, with my bass player and with my drummer, a guitar player that has rock influence, but who can also hold down chord changes, and because you'd be surprised, not a lot of people can do both. You know, it's essential. It's essential for there to be a sync happening. So that's what I look for in a band, and that band reflects my sound personally.
We had some more questions, but I'm going to only do one more question because I want to make sure that folks can ask questions.
Sorry, I tend to be a little long-winded when answering questions.
But not only are you long-winded, you never told us later.
He's known us all 16, so it's okay.
You never told us the name of the single.
Oh! The name of the single is Dance All Night.
It's on iTunes.
It is on iTunes.
99-cent download.
Download it, it's cool, it's a dance song. You know, if you feel like you need something to listen to at the gym.
Please.
Maybe after. But let's finish the questions first. I think that's
okay,
the
this
most
last
important.
question. This is connected to the tune. So this is important, I think, for folks to know about with respect to business, music business, the industry, in terms of your rights as a composer. The other night, you graciously performed with the City Music All-Stars we did an event for Shannon Allen, who's Ray Allen's wife for the Celtics, and Ash graciously came and performed with them. And Winston and I, we were talking about what she would perform before she got here from LA, of course. And at one point, we wanted to have her do her single, which is, you know, Dance All Night, dance tune. And Winston was saying, well, if to do this kind of song, you have to mix tracks in with the live band. And then later we found out that you weren't able to get access to the tracks. Tell us a little bit about that and just the business aspect of it, and you know.
It wasn't so much that I wasn't necessarily able to get access to the tracks. I have the rights to my song. I wrote the song. You know, it's copyrighted under my name. Learn the business of music. It's important to be able to protect yourself. Along with this single are other business aspects that you know, I had to learn. I had to learn firsthand, even though I knew it needed to be done. I let somebody else handle it and take care of it, and it was done improperly. So when you look up the song on iTunes and you look up the info, my name is not listed under the song. It's the production company that I did the single with, who I didn't end up signing with. So right now the single is listed under a production company that I did a one-off with, and their name is the credit on the song that I wrote.
But you're still the artist, so if you look up
I'm still the
Ashley
artist.
Rodriguez,
It's under my first name, not my first and last. There were a lot of business things that I learned and got screwed over in a couple different ways, which is unfortunate. So I share that because I want you to learn. And I share that because I don't want you to make the same mistakes that I've made. But in terms of song and why we ended up going in a different direction was mainly because if I'm going to come in and I know that I'm going to have the privilege of working with an incredible band, I don't want a track. I don't want to play with a track. Like, I'm a musician first and foremost, like in my heart of hearts. So if I know that I'm coming in with city music, I know that I'm going to be in with incredible musicians from age 15 to, I don't know, 20, 21. So my desire with the performance with the City Music All-Stars last week was to use them and work with them to their utmost potential, and working with a track that was going to be, you know, but the majority of the song was going to be present in the track. That's no fun. Then what do your musicians do? I understand background checks are important for some shows and, you know, whatever, everybody uses them, but for that song in particular, it was going to take over. And that's not what I wanted, because I knew I was going to be in the presence of incredible musicians. So in terms of business, I was a music business major. That was my own personal preference. I felt personally that if someone else was going to pay for my education, that I wanted to leave with something that I felt was going to be applicable to my life up until my performance career would be over. I don't expect to be performing until I'm 80 years old, so at some point, you know, my business mindset and a different career path is going to take over, and I wanted to have the knowledge that I needed now for then. So know the business, regardless of what you major in, whether you stay at Berklee or not. Be aware.
Okay, good, thanks. Okay, questions for Ashley. Make sure we'd like you to stand and be loud, because we don't have roving
And say your name, please. I don't know everybody in the room, so please say your name before we talk. I know with all the chatter about, listen, I was in city music, y'all sit here and talk all day. I know somebody's got some kind of question.
Somebody's got some questions. What questions do you have? Young man.
Back again to you yesterday.
Yeah.
Your wife?
Yeah, you were in Ken's class.
I know that. I have a question for you. You went to your American Idol audition. I really saw it in Fox on YouTube, and then you went to your audition for the American Idol, and you said to welcome to the Hollywood.
Yeah, I did.
You did?
I did.
And what do you went to American Idol to the Hollywood for the rehearsal of the music?
When
So you want to know if she went for rehearsal, to rehearse beforehand?
No rehearsal beforehand. You come in cold, so you got to bring it all you got, right from the beginning.
Thanks. Answer the question? Yeah? Good, great.
Hey!
Hey, my name's Terrell Richmond.
Hi, Terrell. I'm sorry. Can we bring the house lights up so I can see everybody? Is that... Thank you. Whoever that is. Hi.
I want to ask you, who are your influences?
That's a great question.
Who are Ashley's influences? That's the question.
I'm a huge Janet Jackson fan.
Okay.
Yes. I believe that over the years, she's been able to incorporate everything that I love about music into what she does. There's a sultry aspect to what she does. There's heavy rock influence to what she does. There's also an R&B and soul influence to what she does. She's a dancer, she's a singer, she's a performer. So I love Janet. My present day version of Janet would be artists like Pink, who also write and co-write with country writers, who do a lot of acoustic sets, and who are performers to the T. That's kind of what I look for and pay attention to when I think of influences. So of course people like Michael and Elton John. My influences range from a wide spectrum of music genres. So.
Good question. Another question.
I heard that.
What's your name?
Dinar.
Hi, Dinar.
I heard that the audition experience of American Idol, there's like multiple auditions before you actually get an assignment.
Yes, that's very true. The short version of that long story, because it's long, my American Idol process started in June of 2009, and the show did not air until January of 2010. So there's many months in between. My first audition was in June of 2009. It was at Gillette Stadium. There was about 10,000 people there. And that first day, it gets narrowed down from about 10,000 to about 300. The second audition, once I found out I was advancing, wasn't until August, 2 months later. And it was for a round of executive producers for the show. And that 300 people that day got narrowed down from about 300 to about 50. And then the third audition was the next day, actually. So 2 and 3 were back to back. And that round 3 audition was in front of the final judges that you see on TV. And once I found out that I would be advancing Hollywood Week, I had to wait from August of 2009 to January 2010. So when the show airs and they're showing weeks and weeks of people auditioning, and like you see the good people and the horrible people and that whole thing, contestants are already in California doing Hollywood Week and filming Hollywood Week for it to air right after the auditions are over. So I spent about 5 months having to keep my mouth shut and not being able to tell anybody other than the people who were present at the audition that what was going on and what was going to be happening. So when the show aired in January, I got phone calls from friends and family that I haven't talked to in forever. And they're, "Why did you tell me? Oh my God!" You know, people going nuts. But it's a long process. So my process was June of 2009 total to about March of 2010. Yes.
Question all the way back. Stand up.
My name is Myrish.
Hi.
Hi. My question is, like, have you ever found yourself like stuck as far as like what to work on next? Like, what do you do?
Oh yeah, definitely. Stuck. Do you want to elaborate just a little bit so I'm not beating around the bush?
Say you're trying to. It seems like you have advanced in everything you're working on. You're trying to find something you can't.
Okay, yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm there right now, honestly. That's a very honest question, so I'll give you a very honest answer. I've kind of been beating around the bush with my own sound for a long time, and I think that whenever you find yourself stuck, in order to push forward, it involves some kind of new revelation about yourself. And so, as creative people, I think that it's important to constantly be feeding yourself. It's easy as creative folks to constantly be giving to other people, whether it be through your talent, whether it be through your personality, through your character. Creative people tend to be very loving, very giving, very emotionally involved. And when you are not taking care of yourself, for me personally, I've found when I'm not taking care of myself, I'm not advancing. Because as a writer as well, I find that it involves a lot of self-awareness for me to be able to write the things that I want to write. And so whenever I feel stuck, it's because I'm in a place where I'm either A, haven't dealt with the issues that I've been going through so that I can really write about them, or B, it's a place where I haven't learned entirely whatever that lesson is. So I found myself being like, okay, well, I want to write about this, but I don't really know how I feel about it. And if you don't, I don't really know. And so if you don't really know how you feel about it, how do you expect to express that to anybody else? It's kind of like when somebody asks you what your favorite color is and you have no clue, and you're like, I don't know, it's kind of blue, pink, this like reddish chunk. Like you go through like 10 million things before you get to the brunt end of it. So when I get stuck, I've learned that even though it's hard, it's better for me to sit back and be patient with the process than to try and push it and force it. Because when you try and push it and force it, there's a sense of it being not so genuine. Does that make sense? So that's kind of where I am right now. So I'm kind of dealing with my own BS to kind of shuffle through that so that I can push to the next thing.
One last question, and I think this is the first hand that went up. Is that Jen? Yeah.
Hey, Jen. Hey, Ashley.
What's up?
So my question is, like, yeah, the industry obviously can get really crazy, but you seem to have balanced yourself with staying humble and staying close to your family and being here talking to us. So what have you done in order to stay that way and to not get
That's a great question.
Gotta answer it quickly.
Okay. I believe first and foremost it's my own personal desire to not want to be changed. I think when you go in head first with this feeling of like, yeah, cool, and I'm gonna be in LA and it's Hollywood and like let's go and you know this like ritzy fancy, like this is what I want, when the desires of your heart are gonna lead your decision making. You see what I'm saying? I believe it's essential that if that's not what you want for yourself, you make that decision first and foremost. And you make that decision prior to going into it. Because it's very easy to be swayed when you don't know what you want. First and foremost, my own desire to remain who I am, to be centered in my family, be centered in God, be centered in the things that I believe in, that I love, keeps me grounded when I fly a little to the left or to the right. Always come back home. So that is probably like.
Listen, we're gonna thank Ashley.